the intention over here is not just to explain what is an MVP, but also to give you a tool that will help you identify your MVP in a better way. So that's really the goal for me here to give you during the next couple of hours. Before we start, I also want to add a few additional facts about myself that maybe were not mentioned in the introduction. So I'm originally from Israel. This is where I was born and raised. Then I moved to Canada in 2002. So I've been here for a while now. Before that, I was also in the States for 6 years. So my career spanned across all of those places. Um, this is the first computer that I developed on. So I started as a software developer. I was working for my first 20 years of my career was on the engineering end of the business. And these computers, I don't think they exist anymore. Also, the company was acquired a while ago. This is a digital VAX. And if you know how old this is, you might be able to age me there. I was doing a lot of engineering stuff, including being a CTO for a startup here in Toronto in the fintech industry. Then after 20 years, I decided to move into product management. So those are some of the companies that I worked in the past 14 years as a product manager and product leader. Some of those are my companies I worked for, and some of those were my clients. So at points, I worked with some of the major airlines to develop loyalty program ancillary products for their clients. So I did a lot of B2B and B2B2C. Same thing with Procom. I worked with some of the major banks in Canada to develop recruitment programs for them, and some other companies that are mentioned over here. These days, I am doing a few things in addition to being also sole proprietor of my own consultancy. I also work for a company called Root Quotient that we build as a product director, and we build products over there as well. I'm also teaching at Schulich School of Business here in New York University in Toronto. I'm teaching in the MBA program, Information Systems and Design Thinking. I have a couple of podcasts that I'm hosting, so if you're ever interested, you can also listen to those. One of them is called Product for Product, where we talk about the product people are using. So different tools and different frameworks and books and stuff like that. And the second one, Beyond Product, is about founders and their behind the scenes of building their products and their founder journey. So as founders, you might find some interesting tidbits and help over there as well. And I actually also published a fiction book. It's fiction, has nothing to do with what I do for work, but I try to treat it as a product as well. So to take from my knowledge about product management and see how I can apply to that. Okay, so on the agenda for us today, so this is about me. Now I want to focus on the agenda and what we're going to do today. So first of all, we'll talk about what is an MVP quickly. Then I will share with you this tool that I'm calling the product ecosystem diagram. This will be a tool that we will go through step by step that will help you for your company and for your products that you're trying to build or you're building, will give you a bit of a high-level view of what is it that you're doing. Part of it is identifying your process touch points, you're mapping your user journeys, and creating a technical component to that. So all of those three items are part of this diagram, and we'll go step by step. And then we will talk about how you can use it to identify your MVP and how you can use it beyond your MVP, because MVP is just the first step, and there is always a lot more after that. So first of all, what is an MVP? So I got here some definitions, and I want you to go to look through this and read those. And maybe in the chat, if you can write a number that you think is mostly related to what you think is an MVP. So number one is the first test with the user. Number two is the first product released to the market. Number three is the first version of the product you developed and launched to the market. So you have to develop something there and to launch it. Number 4 is the first quality version of the product you developed and launched to the market. So it's not just about releasing it, but it also have to have some quality in there. And number 5 is the first version of the product that users are paying for. So put your numbers in there and tell me what you think is the closest definition. So I see a 1, I see a 5. Anyone else? I see a 3. Okay. More people are coming in with a 2 and a 1. So it's a bit all over the place. And between 1 and 5, it's a very big difference, right? So this just showed us, and more people are coming in with 3s. So this, I think a lot of you said 3 from what I'm seeing here. But there are also the other numbers. So the definition of MVP is not very clear based on that, because all of these things are quite different from each other, right? So what is really an MVP? I think that there is a nugget of truth in each one of those, but to me, the closest one is actually number 1 with the addition of that create value to the users. So an MVP doesn't need to be a product that you developed. It can be several products that you take together and you use. So it could be a spreadsheet with some off-the-shelf product that you customize with, when I'm saying off the shelf, it could be a SaaS product, but that you customize to your own need, and then you provide it to your users, because there are platforms these days that allow you to do that, like Shopify, for example. So you can create a store with Shopify without developing any code. A lot of the things that you might need for your company specifically, you might be able to do manually behind the scenes. They will not even know that you're doing this and things like that. But the main thing that you want there is to test it with users. And also you want to create value to the users. So it's not just about the test, but it's also what is valuable to users, right? So that's why I believe number 1 is the closest definition for that, even though I don't think we will have, many people agree on one definition. Everyone define it their own way. And that's probably why also all of those different answers that you get there. So if we're thinking about, again, what is an MVP, it has to be valuable. So and valuable is to the users. It's not really to you, because the users needs to find value in it. You will need also to make it viable for you. So you will have to have value eventually from it. But it's more important that you actually find a product that create value to the clients. And then it needs to be minimal. And minimal is not necessarily minimal that you build it. And therefore, maybe it's not like someone that you developed that doesn't have quality. And that's the difference between 3 and 4 there. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you build. It could be something you put together to create some value to the users. And after that, once you start testing it with users and you do see that you get value from them, maybe then you start saying, okay, can I scale it into a big business? Or do I need to do something different here that will be much more scalable? And that's when you start thinking about, maybe I do need to develop something much better than having all of those things put together, from different systems. So things will be more integrated. Things will be more scalable from you. Things will be maybe cheaper in the long run to operate. So there are many different reasons why you want to develop things on your own, but it doesn't mean that it's an MVP necessarily. Okay. Any questions on that? Does anyone doesn't agree with my definition? It's okay. You can not agree with that, or you can ask questions. Okay, perfect. Now I only see the first page of the people here. I see actually there is more people that probably join in. And then I only see a few people that join on camera, so I don't see your reaction if you are happy with my definition or not, but I assume if you're not, someone says no, but you meant no, you don't have objections, or no, you don't agree. Who was it? Mujtaba? Did I pronounce the name correctly? No question. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, good. So next, what I want to do is I want to introduce you to this product ecosystem diagram. And this will give you a step-by-step process to lay down in one diagram what is your building and what might be from there. How do you define your MVP, or what are the things that will help you see maybe I'm doing too much here, I'm not doing enough here, etc. So it can give you this way to help you make those decisions. So first of all, what is this diagram? It's a high-level diagram. It doesn't go to very deep details. It stays in a high level, and it's good. You don't want to go into too many details. Too many details is usually implementation already. You want to stay a bit high level to make those decisions. It provides you a snapshot of your product, and it will include the process, the solution, the current state of the product, and even a future state of the product. So you can play with that. Depends how much details you put in there, again, in the high level. And you will see what I'm talking about when we get there. So why do we want to create one? We want to see a full picture. Sometimes it's really hard for us. Someone mentioned they write their PRD. The PRD could be, 10 pages long or 20 pages long, or whatever length it is. It's sometimes it's hard to see, top down, what is it? It helps us communicate with stakeholders. So when we see this one picture visually, it's really easy sometimes to go with different stakeholders and the people that we build it with and other stakeholders in the organization to say, this is how we see the world of our product. It helps us to identify gaps in our solution. So it could be quite clear once we have the diagram to see, okay, where do we have gaps and where are we missing something? Or even where do we have an overload of information that maybe we're going too deep? It will evolve over time if you keep using it. So you can use it between versions of what you're doing, and you can help with the roadmap. So you can create a roadmap to say, this quarter, this is what we're building, and that's how it's going to look like. The next quarter, it's going to evolve from this to that, and then over time, you can use that. I've actually used it when it's evolved over time. For those of you that are in Canada, we have this SHRED tax credits. And I've used it in the past with clients of mine to use it to show progress over time and to show the innovation that they did over time. So it was a very handful tool for them for that. And then it also helped with the roadmap creation and prioritization. So going through that, you can say, okay, this is my view for the next, let's say, 3 months, if that's a roadmap that we're going with. And after 3 months, we can reevaluate that and see what did we learn in the last 3 months. How does that view change? Do we need to change anything in there? Okay, so this is what the diagram will look like. It seems pretty complex right now, and that's where I will break it down into details. So the first part of it, there are 3 sections here. The first part is our process touch points, and it's a very high level touch points of what the process looks like. The second part is a user journey, and you might be familiar with user journeys, and there might be very complex sometimes with every little step that they're doing. This is a pretty high level steps of that. And then below that, we will have our technical components. Now, those will not go into a technical lingo. It's not the technical component as in, I need this database. The database actually is the only one maybe that will be there, but I need this software development language, and I need these libraries, and I need APIs. So it's not going to that level, okay? The level it goes here is really breaking down what you're building into these technical components that eventually will be developed, but as a solution, they will create your solution for the product. So you can say over here, this can be a mobile app, this could be a module in the mobile app. We'll see examples, a lot of examples on that later on. Now, if you notice, there is also those lines between them, and each one of the touch points that you have on the top will have associated user journey items and technical components. So the idea here is that if this is our full touch points, then we can also say what are the user journey throughout these touch points, and then align which technical components we have to build in order for us to achieve this user journey. Okay, so eventually the idea there is going to be that once you know what you need to build on your technical end of things, you will also know which of the user journey you are fulfilling at the time and which of the touch points are being fulfilled at that time. And the idea there is that you can identify, once you have it visually, you can identify it quite easily if there are any gaps in there, or if you're going too deep or not enough, or things like that. Okay. Any questions before I move forward? Okay, so let's start breaking it down. First of all, the first step is to identify our process touch points. So the touch points are really, it's a high-level simplified flow. It's not going into very details. It's really very, very high level. You can see over here there is only 8 steps. In some examples, you will see 7 steps. Maybe I've seen, some diagrams with 9 steps, but it's usually quite simple. It is usually linear. So even though there are loops, those are details that will happen at the end. At the beginning, don't worry about that. Just keep it simple and linear. Think about the happy path. So what is the happy path for your client to be successful and for you to be successful there? So just think about that. And then we usually start from the acquisition of the client all the way to the analysis of the information we got from them. So if we have some data and we do some analysis, either we present it to them or we use it for our own. That's usually the flow over here. And these are just really the major steps. And let me give you a few examples over here. So the first example, and I hope you can read it, it's pretty small, but you should be able to read that, right? So the first example is for a company that start with acquisition of clients. So they acquire users, and then they onboard those users. So they have to do something to onboard them. Then those users configure homes, and then they do some searches, and then they order. After that, they stay, then they review, and at the end, there is some analysis, some analyze. And based on looking at that, would you be able to guess which company, which product these touch points are for? You can write in the chat. Or if you want to come on speaker, you can also say it out loud. Anyone?
Not sure, but eager to hear.
Okay. Any guesses? It's okay to guess. Airbnb, yes, hotels. So it is actually Airbnb. So if you think about the touch points of Airbnb, hotel was also a good example over there. But with Airbnb, you actually the users, the hosts will configure the homes over there. So you will onboard the host over there, and they will configure their own homes. Hotels usually will not do that. There will be someone else probably that will configure the homes. And hotels usually doesn't have homes in there, right? It's usually just hotel rooms. And then and this is a different user here. The guest will do search. They will search where they want to stay, and then they will order a stay. They will actually do the stay, so they will come physically and stay there. And then they will review, put a review on Airbnb, and then we can have some analytics information about how many stays and stuff like that, right? Let's do another example. This one is, the first one is acquire. So you acquire users, you onboard them, you do some configuration. So you configure them, whatever they need to configure there. Then they build a backlog, or someone build a backlog. Then they execute a sprint. Then there is a retrospect, and then in the end, there is also some analysis. Anyone want to guess what this one is? Jira. Scrum planning tool, yes. So Scrum planning tool can be Jira, or can be any other tools. Yes, so this one was Jira, but it could be also other tools. And some of you may be more familiar with that, so it was easy for you to see that. But with Jira, you cannot really start building the backlog. Usually you will have to do some configuration of what the workflow is going to be like, what the board is going to be like, and different things like that. And then you execute your sprint, you do retrospect, and there is some analysis information about all of that things. Last example over here, you acquire users, you onboard them, and then there is some brainstorming going on, and then there is an upgrade, and after that, facilitate, contribute, and analyze. Anyone want to guess what this one is? Miro, good. I'm happy. You guessed 3 out of 3 here. So yeah, so with Miro specifically, after they onboard, there is not a lot of configuration they have to do. They can start doing brainstorming with the team because it's a whiteboard and they can do whatever they want. But not all the features are available. So sometimes they will have to upgrade, and only after they upgrade, they will have additional features like facilitation and contributions of new templates or stuff like that. Airbnb and Jira didn't really have that upgrade options. Maybe Jira had some, but I make it a bit more simpler. But Airbnb definitely doesn't, because everyone just sign up. It's a matter of having a marketplace in there. Good. So how do we identify? How did I go through and identify these touch points? Because you guys will want to identify your touch points for your products, right? So the first thing is you want to start with some type of acquisition, because that's where the users are coming from. So how do you acquire them? How do we find those users, right? Sometimes it's a website. Most of the time it's a website, but sometimes it could be other means that you do. It could be an app. It could be something else, right? Continue with onboarding. So how do the client user get started? So how do the first things they have to do usually in the application? What information do we need to bring to give them? What do they need to learn? So sometimes we have to teach them things in order for them to onboard them. Then there is some pre-work configuration. So do they need to do things before they start doing the work, like configuration, loading data? So for example, in Airbnb, they had to configure homes, to set up the homes. In Jira, they had to set up their workflow. They had to set up boards and maybe types of tickets and stuff like that, right? In some cases, they might have to load data. So if they converted from one Scrum board system to another one, they might want to bring their old stuff into that system, maybe. Then they do the work. So what does it mean for a user to do the work, to do the things they're there to do? So what is the value they get from doing this work? So in Airbnb, guests are searching from homes, and then they're staying in the homes, and then they're reviewing the homes. So that's the value they're getting. So that's what I call do the work, right? What are the main steps to achieve the value they're after? And then there might be more value. So sometimes, like the case of Miro, when they have to upgrade, there might be a bit more value in there. Someone cannot hear. I hope it's only a local thing. Are you okay? Everyone can hear me? Yeah? So it's someone specifically. Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, so if there is an additional value after an upgrade or something like that, and then some post-work analysis. So usually with all the data that we collect, there could be some, after that work, what is some analysis that can help them do more work or be better or whatever, or us. It could be analysis for us. So that's usually the steps we're talking about. And then you can also think, do they do it inside the product or is it outside of the product? Like, is it going to be exported to another product or integrated with another product? Or do you show it on the screen with some dashboards? So I want to just go quickly with those examples. For Airbnb, we started with acquisition, and then we continue with the onboarding of those so creating their profiles. So what is the profile of a guest? What is the profile of the hosts? Then there is some configuration of homes. So this is the pre-work configuration. It's only for the hosts. The guests don't need to do anything there. Then do the work, search, order, stay, and review. And after that, there is not more value over here. So this we skipped in Airbnb, but there is some post-work analysis. If we look at the Miro one, there is acquisition of the people, onboarding them. So what is it usually that they have to learn? So maybe we show them a few things on the screen to say, start here, do this here, find this here. And maybe that was all. And then there is no pre-work configuration. They can start working right away. They do the work, which is brainstorming. So they're there, they can do it as much as we can do it as much as we want. And then if they upgrade, there is more value there. So we can provide them also this value. And then there is some post-work analysis. Now, I prepare a template for you. So if you scan this or if you go to this URL, I will actually put this URL. Sorry, let me put this URL in the chat. So this way you will be able to do that. So this is a template that I created on Miro. And what you can do, you could, I don't think you can edit it. I think only I can edit it, but you can use it and make a copy from the template into your own Miro. And I would encourage you to do it now as we go, because I want to give you a few minutes to go through this and actually work on your own diagram. So when we finish this today, you will have some beginning of the diagram. It may not be complete because it could be a bit complex for you to put it together, but I do want you to go there. So what I will do here is I will give you a few minutes to, let me just extend it. Okay, so this is how it will look like. So I will give you like 5 minutes to select the product you want to draft. If you are working on a specific product, select your product, right? I think that will be the best for you. But if you want to select any other product, you can do that as well. And then define the process touch points. And here I planned some 5 minutes here for you to do that. I don't know if everyone will want to share their flow after. So if I do 5 minutes on the clock, I want you to start working on that. Is that something you would like to do? Yes, I see some notes there. Sure. Okay. So go ahead and use that Miro board. You can also take a piece of paper if you're not comfortable with Miro or you don't want to do it right now with Miro. Take a piece of paper and a pen and just write it down. So the top of the paper, try to take a bigger paper, not just a Post-it. And the top of the paper, write like what is the touch points. And you will see in the Miro board that I created this template for you. Was that a question for me, or? I don't think it was in English, right?
No, it was not a question, no.
Okay, so I shared the link. I see that someone asked here for the link. You don't see the link here? I think Negin or Nejin, you asked for it?
I don't see the link on the chat. I check on the screen and
Oh,
found
sorry,
it, but not on the chat.
Jordan, sorry. Because I was talking with Jordan privately, before we started. Here we go. Sorry about that. The quirks of Zoom, right? Do you see now?
Yeah, I found before. I just I kind of type it manually, but yeah.
Yeah. But now you should be able to click on it and then copy it into your own. And then you can use, I included here the examples of Airbnb with a few versions of Airbnb, as you can see here. And I also included like a Jira example and a Miro example that I created. And then this template is for you. So when you copy it over, you can start using that. And if you have less or more of these, you can just copy or you can remove any of those arrows. So only the number of steps that you have in your own. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes to work on that. And then maybe someone, if you are brave enough to share with us, it will be awesome. No, you don't need to be brave. It's fine. I mean, we're all friends here. Not judgmental. Maybe we should put music in the background when you do this. I also do this workshop in person. So when I do it in person and everyone is in one room, it's easy for me to go around and see what they do and help them. But I've done this also this way, and I hope that you will find value from that. Does anyone have already some flow that they want to share? And it doesn't need to be perfect. This is just your first try. So this is evolving over time, and that's the beauty about it. It's not, it's never set in stone. It's always evolving, and you can always change and modify it and make it better based on what you learn. Anyone want to share?
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet. You're still working on it?
Very, very beginning.
Okay. Okay.
Not sure if mine's gonna be ready. Yeah. I'm adapting from the previous one I had it.
Do you want me to wait another minute and then you will be, I mean, you can share, it's very high level. So a few words there just to say, you know, what's your, maybe the product you're trying to do the touch point for. And then, oh, here we go. I see, is it Negin or Negin? How do I pronounce your name?
It's actually Negin.
Negin, okay, perfect, thank you. So you have acquire and then onboard, create scenario, input data, run the model, export results, and analyze. Okay, do you want to share with us what is the product for?
Yeah, it's a financial modeling tool for property developers.
Okay, so I assume that property developers are the one you're trying to acquire and onboard, and then they're the one creating the scenarios, input the data for the scenarios, and then model is what the system probably does for them. And then they can export these results and analyze them.
Yes.
Okay, that's simple enough. Perfect. Anyone else want to share? If not, I might pick up on Negin all the time. No, don't worry. But thank you for sharing, Negin. Okay.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So let me continue with the next step. So the next step over here is about let me just do slideshow. It's about mapping your user journey. So now that you have these touch points, you want really to identify what is the high-level user journey under that, because then you will eventually want to build a solution for them. So if we're talking about users, the first thing is who are the main users over here? So we have to identify them. And then what are the entities they need to create in each touch point? So when we look at the touch point, there might be entities that they need over there. So like an hotel, a home that they want to rent, or a reservation, or even their profile. So each one of them is an entity that eventually we need to manage somewhere, store somewhere with all the data, and interact with. We want to check what are the attributes that this entity has. So a home for rent will have like the address of the home, how many rooms. So all of these are entities. So for each one of those entities that we identify, we can identify what is the data or those attributes that belong to that. And then what are inputs and outputs? So what are the things that users might have, or we might have to bring in? And what are things that are created from the system, the outputs from the system? And at the end, what is the relationship between all of them? So let's we'll go into examples here, but we want to really stay high level. We don't want to go into too much details over here, or too many deep levels over here. And then we want to try to keep it simple. And details will come later, but before we even know what is at the high level, it's very hard for us to say, okay, this specific detail has to be there or not, right? So this is an example here of the Airbnb, and this is their version 1 that I created as an example, just from my own head. It's not like I sat down with Airbnb, did it with them, but it kind of makes sense to illustrate what we're talking about over here. So we have we have this on the onboarding, we have two users, right? So the users are the guests and the host. So we have two types of them. So I mark those with red. Then we have also entities that they need to create in each of the touch points. So the hosts will have to create homes. And you see, I also marked the host in blue as an entity, because we have to create that entity to make sure we keep all of those hosts in the application, right, in our solution. And the guests, they will basically create searches. So they will have searches, and we might want to save them or not, but the search is an entity. And then they might want to also save specific homes for later if they are not sure yet where, who they want to, where they want to stay, and they want to keep like a list of those saved homes. When they order, we need to create an entity of reservations. And then we might also need an entity for messages, because when they reserve or when they do orders, they want to speak with the host and ask them questions about it and get replies from it. So those are messages. And I created it as a separate entity because it's usually something that either we can see it as a separate thing. We can decide, this will help us also later on to decide, are we creating messages right now, or we are just creating reservations without messages? So sometimes you will want to split things in a logical way. But I also indicated this is more important than this by the size of that, as you can see that, right? Then under stay, we have, okay, so stay is an interesting one because they physically stay in the home. They don't stay in the Airbnb app or in the Airbnb website, right? So, but we still have to support that stay throughout the process. So here we have issues. So if they come up with issues, we need to resolve them. So we really need to create an issue. And I have a typo over here. This should be issues, not resolve issues. So the entity here is really an issue, whether it is resolved or not. And then we also, because we have issues now, who is going to handle these issues? So we need some agents to work on that. So I created agents over here. And because some issues are related to damages and stuff like that, we know that we need insurance. So now there is another entity here for insurance. So you see how all of those things start expanding into all of the things that make sense in that touch point, still in a very high level, but each one of those will later direct me into, okay, so what should I really build? What should be my MVP when I start? And then how should I evolve it over time? And then when they are done with the review, with their stay, they review the property. So I have here reviews, and eventually there is some in the analyze. Maybe I have a dashboard, so I'm creating a dashboard for both of them, for the guest and the host, to see maybe how much they earned for the host and where did they stay and what was the reviews for the guest and what the host said about them. So those are my entities. Then the attributes are all of those information that I have about those entities. So for the host, I have their avatar and personal information. For the homes, I have their address and amenities and availability and the price. So all of those things, for et cetera, et cetera. Then I also have some inputs and some outputs. So some of the inputs that I have into the process are, where do I acquire those people? How do I find them? And some of the outputs that I have out of the process is, maybe I'm creating some report that they can share, or it could be like for their tax purposes for the host, for example. For the guest, it could be for reimbursement if they need, they do it for business. So there could be many different types of outputs that I can have from that. And then all the lines between them is really the relationship between those entities. And as you see, like I also associated a couple of entities together as a main entity and as a kind of a sub entity there. This is also a type of a relationship between them. So we want really to define. So next we want to define our entities, right? So this is what we want to do next. Now here I put in the time here 15 minutes because this takes longer time to actually do. But the idea there is to take that diagram and to really think about what are those entities that we're trying to do to put in there. Now, I do want you to try that out and maybe someone to share. If you want even to share your, put yourself on video and show us what you drew, whether it is on Miro or on a piece of paper, that can work as well. Where is it? 1 second. Here we go. In the template that I created for you on Miro, you will have those toolbox. So you can copy and paste them here and just use them. You can drag and drop it, inside Miro as like those circle. So you can say under the touchables that you've done, what are the specific entities that you have to do? You can link them together. You may not have time for all the attributes and stuff like that. This takes time. 15 minutes is definitely not enough time for you to do that. Please start working on that while I'm talking here. I hope that we will have someone that will be willing to share. Maybe that's why I said before, Negin, that I might pick on you, but I do see someone else also. What is the name? Sapide? Do I pronounce it right? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yes? Okay. Okay, Negin is ready for that. Okay, great. So I will give you a few minutes to work on that. Maybe less than 15, but I will give you a few minutes to work on that. So this way you can share with us, what are those entities you put on the process. But in the meantime, I will just read aloud the flow that Sapide put over here. So acquire, onboard, configure, maintenance, and set schedules. Okay, so there is configuration over there of maintenance and schedules. Assign experts, payment, review, and analyze. Okay, so it does look like a good flow. Do you want to share with us what the product is for? You're still on mute, Sapide? Or you want to write it down? Property management. Okay, so in the property management here, so there's configuration of the maintenance and the schedule for the property management, I assume. Assign expert, payment. Okay, so this seems to be, if I'm trying to guess here, it seems to, but you can also, come on the speaker and tell us if you want, if you're able to do it. But it seems to me like either a service or a marketplace where people are creating or just a software that you sell to property management companies, and they have all the properties in there. So they need to, first of all, onboard the properties and configure those properties, and then set a schedule for the properties. And for each one of the things that they need to either to fix or whatever they need to set up, you assign experts for that. And then you will pay those experts. That's why I'm kind of like still thinking either is it a marketplace or a SaaS product you provide property management? Are the experts part of the users here as well? Online platform, okay. Okay. Yeah, for manager tenant relationship and financial reporting and maintenance. Okay, cool. So some of the entities, if you're already working while we're talking here about the entities, I would guess that there will be the properties over there, the property managers, probably as type of users. You also have tenant relationships. So that means also there is tenants over there as part of it. Mm-hmm. So that's just my guess over there. Great. I will let you do a bit more work on the journey, on the user journey over there. Any questions from anyone here on this? Or challenges? Do you feel it? You're mute. I don't know if you're trying to ask something. Yanai? No? Okay. 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 Is anyone ready or want to share some of their entities? Are you ready again for that?
Yes, but I don't have a mirror board. I write it on the paper.
Okay, so maybe you can just read it for us and say these are the entities under this touch point, etc.
On the acquisition part, it's the same as the examples that you had. We are going to use online searches, social media, and etc. But on the onboarding phase, we actually have the user profile and also their contacts. Should I go with the attributes or not? Just the entity?
No, just go with the main entities.
Okay. In creating scenario step, we have scenario as an entity. In input data, we have capital stack, land, costs, revenues, cash flow, and some general info for the scenario. In the export, running the model, we have some sensitivity analysis and some profitability metrics. And in the export step, we have reports. And in the analyzer step, we have some dashboard.
Okay. And then you probably have lines across them because that's the process where they start with configuring the scenario, and then they have those results, and at the end they get the results, right?
Yes.
Cool.
It's kind of linear.
Yeah, linear there. So the idea here, it's pretty linear. It is sometimes hard to make a linear flow because sometimes you will have issues and things might go back and stuff like that. So for example, in the Airbnb situation, if they cancel a reservation and they want to go back and search or get a refund, they will never go to the stay specifically, or in that case of that specific reservation. If they reserve a new place, they will, but if they never reserved anything new, they will stop. Their process will stop over there. That's okay, right? So we're thinking really about the happy path. And then when we get to the details of implementation, we will have to start considering those edge cases as well.
As you mentioned that if our users change some inputs and want to run the model again and export, I think it's the same loop.
Right. Exactly. So there will be a loop over there that they want to. So maybe you will need to manage also revisions of the scenarios. Because they may want to store older versions based on the data that they had before, and then maybe they want to later compare the results or things like that.
Yeah, good point.
Right. So that could happen as well. And you can maybe put it as an attribute, as a version is an attribute of the scenario, or you can even create it as a whole entity by itself. Depends how you handle it later on. So you can play with this. It's never set in stone. And the nice thing also is that the best way to put this together, these diagrams together, is with your team. So not just one person, because many times you will get ideas and people will think about how you present it in different ways. And you will see how your thoughts might be different from your other people, team members, and together you will hash it out, and it will make much more sense as a whole team. Right? Anyone else want to share their entities? What about Sapida?
I can share it too.
Yeah.
As I said, we have an online platform for property management that connects landlords with tenants. In acquisition phase, we have website, ads, and different channels. In onboarding, we have landlords and tenants. In configure maintenance and set schedules, we have different homes, different appliances for especially electrical appliances.
Mhm.
Then we, in specified schedules, we have to assign some experts, some tailored experts to do the maintenance. So we have profiles of experts here,